There is one thing that every Star Wars film has in common. Okay, there are a few things that every Star Wars film has in common. One of those things is the use of the phrase,
I have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
That's right. In every single live-action Star Wars movie, this line or a variation of it is spoken. So join me as we rank all 11 uses of I have a bad feeling about this in the Star Wars saga and determine which film uses it best. In order to find that answer, we will consider who delivered the phrase, the context of the situation it was delivered in, and how it impacted the story. So drop a like, force choke the subscribe button, and enjoy the video. Okay, let's just dive into this ranking. So episode 4 actually has 2 uses of the phrase, I have a bad feeling about this. There's one where they're being pulled into the Death Star's tractor beam.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
And one where they're in the trash compactor.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I think this is a pretty good start for the phrase, I'm not gonna lie. This movie has the clear advantage of beginning the trend, and it does it twice. So I'd say that it deserves A tier. I feel like that's a fair spot. If we need to move it, we can, but I feel like A tier is fair for A New Hope. On to Empire Strikes Back. So the phrase, I have a bad feeling about this, is only used one time in Empire, and it's used by Leia.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Which is kind of cool because in A New Hope, it was used by Luke Skywalker, then Han Solo, and so rounding up the trio with Leia, which I think is cool. And personally, I think that attention to detail deserves A tier. Honestly, I'd even put it above A New Hope, just because I think that it's a good scene in which it's used. I feel like the threat is real. I feel like there's a reason for the bad feeling to exist. It's a good use of the phrase. Empire Strikes Back, high A tier. So next up we have episode 6. And I have a bad feeling about this is used 2 times, once again. This time, it's said by C-3PO.
I have a bad feeling about this.
C-3PO's is fairly standard. He uses it while they're in Jabba's palace. But then later in the film, when they're about to be cooked and eaten by the Ewoks, Han Solo says,
I have a really bad feeling about this.
This is innovative, everyone. This changes the game, okay? I think Return of the Jedi deserves an S tier. Not only does it use the phrase 2 times, this also makes Han Solo the first character to say the phrase more than 1 time in the franchise. All right, we've got the original trilogy out of the way. Now let's move on to the prequels. We begin the prequels with Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, I have a bad feeling about this. It's when they're doing negotiations with the Trade Federation, things aren't looking too hot, and Obi-Wan says,
I have a bad feeling about this.
Ewan McGregor does a great job of saying it. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think he has a stronger delivery of this phrase later on in the franchise. So I'm just going to put this one at B tier. Not bad, not bad. I think B is a good mid tier. It's a decent, I have a bad feeling about this. I don't know if it reaches the highs of the original trilogy in terms of its usage, but it's very good. It's very good. Episode 2, Anakin Skywalker says,
I've got a bad feeling about this.
I think it's respectable. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I love it. So I'm gonna put it into C tier. It's not, now don't get me wrong. I love the phrase being used at all. So it's not terrible, but I don't know if it's my favorite. On to episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This movie only uses the phrase 1 time, but it is an absolute banger of a delivery. Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi says, oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
And you can feel that he does not have a good feeling about what is happening. I think that this is perhaps one of the best deliveries in the entire saga. And for that, Revenge of the Sith goes straight to S tier. Ewan McGregor absolutely knocks it out of the park with this delivery of the line. Truly a delivery that is worthy of high S tier. All right, we're moving on to the sequels. And I know some of you are worried, but just wait. The sequels do the phrase, I have a bad feeling about this, some pretty good justice. In episode 7, Han Solo says, I have a bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
This makes it his 3rd time saying the phrase. And you know what? I have to give this a high B tier for consistency. I think giving the phrase to Han Solo was the right move in this movie. Is it a groundbreaking delivery of the line? it doesn't quite reach the same heights of Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope, but it's also, I'd say, on par with Episode 1. I'd say it edges out Attack of the Clones. The next film released after The Force Awakens was obviously Rogue One. Rogue One is an interesting case because the phrase, "I have a bad feeling about this," is not in the movie. However, it is almost in the movie. It is said by K2SO, but he is abruptly cut off.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
We were almost there. This has to be a D tier. They didn't even finish the phrase. They didn't even say it. All right, next up, The Last Jedi. Now, the phrase, "I have a bad feeling about this," isn't even uttered at all in this movie. Or is it? "I have a bad feeling about this," while not spoken in English, is in The Last Jedi. It is actually said by BB-8 towards the beginning of the film. This one is very creative. It's not very often that you have a droid deliver this phrase.
Happy beats here, buddy. Come on.
So for that, I have to give it some extra bonus points. I'm gonna put this one in low A tier. I don't think it deserves to be above A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but I think having BB-8 deliver it is kind of fun. We have now reached Solo, a Star Wars story. Han Solo says, "I have a good feeling about this."
I got a really good feeling about this.
You know, this movie tried. It tried. But unfortunately for this tier list, it does not meet the criteria. Han Solo's not having a bad feeling in this movie. He's having a good feeling, which means that by default, this has to be F tier. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually think that this is hilarious. I think this is a fantastic subversion of expectations, okay? But if I score this any higher than F tier, people aren't going to take me seriously anymore. For the sake of my credibility, this has to be an F tier. All right. The most recent theatrically released Star Wars movie is obviously Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, in this movie, the phrase, "I have a bad feeling about this," is uttered by Lando Calrissian.
I got a bad feeling about this.
An interesting choice because he never said it in the original trilogy. I think it's cool that we're giving the phrase to an original trilogy character who never got to say it. I will say that the context this one is used in is not as good as a lot of the other ones. A lot of these other phrases, our characters are in immediate danger or they're about to be in danger. This one is kind of said while they're in the middle of the desert, and I feel that kind of takes away the impact of the phrase a little bit. So for that, we're gonna put this one in D tier. You know, they said the phrase, but unlike a lot of the other films, it's just not as impactful. All right, this is the full list. Please remember that this list is not my opinion of the Star Wars films themselves, just their usage of the phrase, "I have a bad feeling about this," okay? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and you like my channel or you like Star Wars, feel free to check out some of my other content about Star Wars. I recently made a tier list ranking all of the haircuts for all the clone troopers, and I have a few other Star Wars videos in the works right now. Anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.